inside the 18. I'm Michael Madgen, live from Hollywood, California. With me is 99 World Cup winner Saskia Weber with a brand new microphone. Congratulations.
Woo-hoo.
What a set.
And look, I got headphones on today.
You got headphones, you got a new hat, you're repping Angel City.
The Angel City check came in the mail a few weeks ago, so she's
Not yet.
she went splurging a little bit.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that. That other voice you're hearing right there, you know him as ProGK Academy _ on social media, the one and only Omar Zeenni. And back, and it's Kailen, it's crazy that you haven't been back for a while, because like we're all legitimately friends now. And I just keep thinking, I'm like, wait a second, why haven't we had Kailen on? We should just have Kailen on. But you've been a little bit busy, winning Golden Gloves.
I thought she was just too big time.
Yeah, she was just becoming big time. If you guys don't know who we're talking about,
never.
If you guys don't
him out.
If you guys don't know who we're talking about right now, if you're maybe just listening to the audio right here, we're talking about the one and only Sky Blue FC from Canada, the one and only Kailen Sheridan, repping her TKI shirt on the air as well too. Because Kailen is not just a world-class goalkeeper, she's also a world-class coach. So
I'm getting that secondhand, but I'll take it.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, we're really excited to have you, honestly, because first off, congrats on everything that happened. What a run you guys had in the Challenge Cup. I know a lot of people, kind of didn't see it coming, but I know you guys saw it coming. And you guys played beautiful soccer. Honestly, that whole possession-based style was really cool to watch. The way you played with the ball at your feet, the movement off the ball was just really fantastic. So we thought like we needed to have you on, to kind of discuss that. But before we get into that, why don't you just catch up maybe some of the insiders who might be newer and haven't been around in the last year or so. What the heck has happened with you? You've been blowing up since the World Cup.
Oh man, I appreciate that. I don't know about blowing up. I'm just trying to do my job, trying to get better every day, trying to be the best goalkeeper I can be. But last year was really good for me to get experience going to the World Cup and being, like for me, getting a really good experience, not really getting the opportunity to play, but to see how it all goes down, see the setup. And I think it was one of the best experiences I've had so far, just to really understand the roles for keepers and what needs to happen when you're at a big tournament like that, and all the different pieces and elements that you don't think about. You just think about the one person who ends up on the field. But it was really good for me to get that opportunity and that experience. And then coming back to the NWSL, we had a lot happen at Sky Blue. So we lost our coach as soon as I got back, and we kind of went through a bit of a whirlwind, but I think we saw the players step up big time and really show that this club wants to turn around and wants to be one of the threats in this league. And we can be once we put our mind to it. So we put a lot of work in the off season and together and individually. And then when we came back, unfortunately, we got shut down right away. But we got the opportunity to come in for 4 to 5 weeks and then go into the bubble and compete in the Challenge Cup in Utah, which was honestly really well put together and really amazing. And we were definitely skeptical at the beginning and worried and nervous, like anybody has been going into any of this unknown. But I can truly say that I'm very impressed and proud of how the NWSL put it together and made it come together and be so successful. But our team, on the other hand, put in hours of work, and they put so much work in off and on the field just to talk about how we want to play and how we want to make a change on this club. And this club has definitely struggled, and we're not ashamed of it. We know we struggled. But we know we don't want to do it anymore, and we know we want to make a big change. So I think the biggest thing for 2020 has been really, really hard, but we've seen a couple steps forward for this club, and we're really proud as a group.
Well, I mean, we loved watching the Challenge Cup. I mean, and also shout out, like you're saying. I mean, look, the one thing first off is the slap in the face. I've heard a lot of times is when people didn't mention how the NWSL was the first, professional sports league. It's so annoying to hear that. But you guys just handled yourselves with such class out there. Obviously it wasn't an easy situation for you all, in regards to, the whole World Cup scenario and how great that was. I mean, Omar and I, we can't even get into this conversation. You and Saskia understand that world way way better than we do right now. As I'm sure you guys could share notes, off the air on what that whole experience was like. And Saskia, do you think that was something that helped you out? Well, or you could share it on the air. So
something helped me out.
In regards to going to your first World Cup, in regards to when you went over to to Japan and all that stuff. So
yeah, I mean, all the experiences help you out. Playing pro overseas, traveling. My first World Cup was in Sweden, and dealing with all of that, and at that level, and the pressure and everything sets you up just for success in playing pro, without a doubt. And the other way around, playing pro is what put me on the 99 team. So I think, first of all, I'm so stoked to see Sky Blue doing well. And, I want to go back. I want to go back to that, because I know, following you guys, all the stuff that you guys have put up with, like, that has nothing, like, off the field, like, whether it was like, where I don't want to like down Rutgers right now. Obviously I'm a Rutgers alumni, but I know it wasn't a professional situation for you guys there and stuff like that. And just to pull through that. And I think that builds character, and you guys are one of those teams that, nothing's going to faze you, bring it on, and you did, and it was awesome to see. So I'm a fan.
Yeah. And you did so well that even Omar Zeenni even started posting videos of you. And that's when you know that you're big time, when Omar starts posting.
I made it. I'm done now.
I
did what I came to do.
And when I'm positive, that's the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the good clips. I've been at it a few times, so I'm not ashamed of it. We all learned, but it was nice to be the good one.
Well, speaking of that, let's go into today's topic right here, guys. Today's topic is possession play and changing the point of attack. Again, Kailen, one of the reasons we wanted to have you on. It's not just us. A lot of pundits out there, really praise your possession play. And the way that Sky Blue played in the tournament, a lot of people were very excited to see, because they said, wow, they really are building something here. So kind of in your kind of own words, maybe if there's some parents out there listening or younger goalkeepers who aren't familiar with the terminology, in your words, what is possession play?
Yeah, I think possession play is, for a goalkeeper, is being able to use your feet and play with the people that you have the opportunity to play with in front of you. Whether that's short, whether that's long, but in the ideal, it's short under pressure and being able to build and being able to start an attack from the goalkeeper. I think that's the simplest way to put it.
Yeah. No, I think you
I'm smiling because I always say that, like first pass on attack.
I mean, and that is really so important. And Omar, I know, one of the things that you've worked on consistently with so many goalkeepers, and we even just had the conversation yesterday with Phil Wedden. Shout out to the great Phil Wedden, in regards to when we have the ball versus when they have the ball, and that transitional play, and understanding how to move off the ball, and how important that is, right, Omar?
Yeah. I think again, it's I think we're talking to Lloyd Yaxley, Mike, like 2 years ago at the convention, and we asked him like, what is one thing that young kids are neglecting as goalkeepers? And he said, not obviously, but one of the things that no one ever talks about is the prep touch. And the prep touch sets you up to allow you to play possession. And obviously, scanning the field, and on that first touch, being able to get it out from under your feet. So now you can see the options that you have, I think is super important. And I think in training sessions, even though sometimes it's announced pass backs, the very least we can do is have them get used to that muscle memory of just getting it slightly in front of them, picking their head up, and then making that, final pass. And I think that's where it all kind of starts.
Yeah, I think one of the other most important things is reading the game. Mike and I were just talking about this actually, and it's understanding what kind of possession the situation is calling for. I think a lot of kids think possession means, oh, let me just dish the ball out to my back, or get rid of it as fast as I can, let them deal with it. But sometimes possession means, like I said, dropping that ball over top and springing her forward, or bypassing your backs and going into your midfield, seeing and reading the game and the situation and pressure that you're under, and making the proper decisions, not forcing the ball, making sure the service that you send, regardless of what it is something that your team's still going to control, no matter where on the field it is. It doesn't mean just possession. Oh, here, pass to you, pass to here.
No, and I think. Go ahead, Omar.
No, I try to compare different sports, but like even as a quarterback, you see sometimes quarterbacks throw the ball across the middle, and they, have their runners getting crushed, and sometimes they put the ball in the opposite way or put them in using the sideline as a support system. So us as goalkeepers, obviously, when we're able to scan the field and see what's in front of us, we're able to give those passes to our players in the most, I guess, effective position for them to control. And if we have to show underneath, obviously to get the ball out of pressure, but then showing underneath to receive that second ball, then we clear it upfield. Yeah. But you never know who you move with that short pass. And then with that short pass, obviously the next picture that you see can be completely different, which draws out the left back, and now you can play it into that channel. So it's kind of, again, watching film and as a goalkeeper being comfortable with that ball at your foot for an extra second.
Kailen, there's nothing worse than when you play that ball to somebody and you're like, oh, I am so sorry I did that to you, because this was not this was not fair to you whatsoever. And I'm sure you've been in that situation before.
No, I think that's one of the biggest pieces of possession as well, though, is I'm going to give a ball and I'm now responsible for if that person can complete a pass. I'm not giving somebody a ball and then it's their responsibility. I think possession play is being able to give that person a ball for them to be able to play. And a lot of times, even when I'm working on it or when I'm coaching a kid who's working on it, it's, if you give that guy that ball, it's your fault. If he didn't complete his pass or she didn't complete her pass, it's your fault, not theirs, because you didn't set them up for success. Your job as the goalkeeper is to set up the people in front of you for success and be ready when they're not successful, but to really give them the best opportunity to succeed. And, it's a lot about that prep touch, but it's also trying to bring the pressure to you so that they have less. And I think that's something that when we talk about possession, it's like you were saying, like, it's easy to pass to your center back or pass to your outside back, but are they now in more pressure than you were?
Right. Are you just passing the buck?
Yeah, exactly.
Mike, did you give a lot of bad balls?
I did.
Just kidding. I'm so sorry.
So here's
me. If I gave a bad ball in like national team practice, somebody just kick it right back at me and just like shove it down my throat and just be like, "Don't give me that crap."
I'm gonna give a little story right here. I was training with the Pally Blues a few years back, and back when they were like a powerhouse W League team at the time, because there was no NWSL. It was right before that. Literally all of the national team was on that team. And I played a bad ball. I forgot who it was, to somebody on the outside, an outside back on the right. And I had never been chewed out like that before in the USL, PDL, college. Nobody had chewed me out like that. And I was like, that's why that person's on the national team. And I'm not going to call out who the person is, but that's why that person's on the national team. And I was like, ooh, all right.
It goes both ways. It's the same as don't give a crap ball back to your goalkeeper. Because number one, they're going to put the keeper under pressure and there's nobody behind them. And, you have to, the goalkeeper has to be in the right support position, but don't dump your problem on the keeper, because now, it's just a worse problem than it is. So it goes both ways.
Now, Kailen, I want to ask you a question, because it seems like Hume's system really requires the goalkeeper to dictate the possession. You really, really seem to be so integral in the movement of the rest of the players and changing that point of attack and all of that. So, like, why does the Sky Blue system require the goalkeeper to be so connected?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a conversation between me and her as well, and it's an ongoing build. The way that they want to play is amazing, and I want to be a part of it, and they want me to be a part of it, which is great. And I think that's the way that soccer is going, is that the goalkeeper has got to be a part of build-up play. It's mandatory now. You have to play with all 11 players, and if you're not, you're now a man down. So I think that's one of the biggest styles that we wanted to play with. But for me to be able to help dictate, I can create now an overload with our backs, and I can give somebody else an opportunity to play. So for me, I am now dragging pressure, because I'm one of those players that they need to be aware of, that the forwards need to be more aware of. So even if I'm not necessarily getting the ball to my feet, I'm trying to drag pressure so that somebody else is now open. And that's one of the biggest things that we talk about, is just that support angle and that support position and how I give them the ball and where I end up showing and supporting. And it's a lot of work, like reading and watching film and seeing the different heights and depths and widths that I can get and create to be in the best angle to drag pressure, but also be a support. So now that player has an option. Whether it's me, they have an option. Whether it's somebody somewhere through, there's now an option. But I wouldn't even necessarily say that I am like an integral part of the possession. I think we're all so important. And if one of us isn't doing it, then there's going to be somebody who's not on anymore. And we want, whether it's one option, we're looking for two. Always have two options. Always have two options. And if I'm not doing my job, there's one option gone, because it's easy for forwards to mark a goalkeeper who's not moving.
I mean, absolutely. And I think you brought up a really, really good point in regards to dragging the pressure to you. And Omar, I know that's something that you've been working on with goalkeepers, being comfortable with that, because Saska's notices too at the youth level, how many goalkeepers they don't want the pressure to come to them. They want to release the ball beforehand. And by the, and the field is too bad, for a lack of a better term, the field is too flat at that time, which means those passing angles aren't available to them. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
but
like I said, just dump your problem. Like, it's, you know, the kids aren't comfortable enough. And that's why I'm always just like, you know, we always talk about, like, I want my goalkeepers doing rondos. I want, like, them involved in those things, so that your field players don't think twice about passing you the ball, and that you're comfortable with tight, quick touches and everything like that. You can't have that second thought. And kids, like, that aren't used to that are just like, oh my God, I have the ball, let me get rid of it. And it's a debacle.
And Mike, that's a
He froze.
Did you freeze, Omar?
stigma that you have to try and catch everything in training. Oh, how about now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
We just heard catch everything in training.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's going to be edited to sound really harsh right there. Go ahead.
He's frozen again.
Are you frozen again,
Can you
Omar?
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I'll keep going. No, but I think just like when we talked to Phil about, you know, trying to catch everything in training, I think when we get that into the subconscious of our goalkeepers of you have to catch everything, and there's going to be balls that aren't catchable, but being able to parry those away is just as effective as trying to catch everything. And I think with distribution, I think we find young goalkeepers who are trying to tell them, hey, the new wave is you have to keep the ball as much as you can. And that stigma is getting into their own subconscious of like, okay, I have to try and keep the ball no matter what. And sometimes, like Saskia said, just dumping that ball into the channel is just as effective as, not just as effective, but like you can, you know, don't try and risk it all for one play when in a minute or two, that ball might come back to you and you have another chance to connect the pass. So I think trying to force the kids into, you know, playing a certain style. That's why we saw with Joe Hart playing the city style. It wasn't going to work for him. And luckily, I'm sure that the coach built the system around you, Kailen, is understanding that we had a goalkeeper who's competent with their feet, can make the right decisions. And now we can build a system around there. I'm sure if there was somebody who wasn't as good at their feet, they're probably going to go find somebody or they wouldn't play that system. So again, the goalkeepers obviously don't get stuck with this one-track mind of you have to keep the ball or else. Keep the ball when you can and put it into the channel if you can't. And I think that's the important thing we need to kind of address now.
Yeah, also, like you said, I just had this conversation as well. It's a gray area. Like, don't get into, like, if you have a coach, it's like possession, we have to keep possession. Yeah. Like, you still have to be a student of the game and understand what the game is requiring of you in that moment. Oh, I have to keep possession because somebody's telling you to keep possession, and what's in front of you is not you know, going to work in that situation. Then get rid of the ball. Like, live to fight another day.
That was that was really huge for us as Sky Blue, like learning this new style. Like, we only had a couple weeks and we really wanted to play possession. Like, our coaches wanted, like, they were so headstrong. And I was like, I love it. And then we played a few games and it's not always on. And
it's not.
I had to hit a few long. I had to find our 7-Elevens making that nice run. And we had a couple really hard conversations where they weren't necessarily happy that I was finding the long or finding, you know, these different runs. And luckily our goalkeeper coach was able to have a conversation, and we sat down and we looked at the film and we said, look at what her situation is.
Exactly.
Where would you like her to go other than where she went? And I think those conversations with our coaches, really understanding the reading the game and like, we want to play. I'm sitting there saying, I want to play out, but I have to read what's happening in front of me. And that's what you brought me here to do. And I'm doing it.
Right.
And, you know, it was good. I think we really both learned a lot that I don't want to go always. Like, I'm trying to find it, but you got to trust me. You got to trust me to read the game.
Yeah. And that's what practice is for. That's what the week is for. And, you know, don't be a joystick coach and don't be like, you know, you have to trust that, you know, you've given your team the tools and let them make the right decision. And if it's the wrong decision, you'll learn from it. But, you know, when I see keepers try to force possession, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, put it in the top tier of the stands, reboot, and live to fight another day. Instead, you just kick the ball into their attacker and the ball's in the back of the net. because you're so in your head. I have to possess. Well, it's not right sometimes. It's not.
Yeah, and I think that's just like a really strong coaching point for like our coaches were really able to read the game and realize what needed to happen. I think that's like a coach's mentality to say, read the game. Not we want to possess, but at the end of the day, you're there, you're on the field, you read the game. And I was just thinking as you guys were talking about it, you can practice all day, but I think the biggest change for me with Sky Blue was that our coach said, defenders, get your ass in the right position to help.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times where you can't play possession because your players aren't ready.
Yep.
100%.
And
we haven't
been ready. Honestly, our team, we watched so much film in quarantine. That's all we did was our coaches showed a clip and said, who really wants this ball right now? You just played a backdoor and you said, Kailen, you deal with it.
And I'll tell you something though, but I love that you dropped the long ball because listen, first of all, I love the long ball, just so you know. And I love like my stats of assists and I love it. Okay. So but for me, if you're possession, well, the other team's going to push up. And they'll know that. And so every once in a while you drop that long ball, boom, assist. And Tammy Pierman, if you are watching, you stole my goal. Because one of them was going in, and I'm mad at her to this day. We were at Mile High Stadium, and it's thinner air.
That happened to me in college. I know on ball. My
she
player
touched that ball
on the line.
On the line, same.
I was like, what the hell, man? It was going in regardless.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to share a little example, and I want Kailen to break down kind of what happened in this situation right here. We're talking about. I don't want you to have to revisit the Red Stars game, but this was such a great pass. I just felt that we needed to showcase this right here. Okay, so kind of why don't you walk just down? Basically, let's watch it real quick first. You see here.
Mike, you're doing better. Oh, no.
Look at that ball! Are you kidding me, Kailen? Well, look at that field awareness. So can you kind of walk us through that right there? Because that is scanning the field to the next level. Oh,
Mike, you were like a new rap song there. Nobody could understand you.
Okay, can anyone hear me now? What about now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I don't know.
What about that ball though? That ball, I mean, that's next level scanning the field right here, Kailen. So can you walk us through this real quick?
Yeah, I mean, we had just literally got scored on. So for me, it was about getting our team up and moving their team for me. And I know that Naho, that player who's on the ball right now. So who I play to, you have to be really aware of who you're playing to too.
Oh, of course.
And I'm going to be honest, she's not our strongest winner in the air. She's not. She's probably one of our weakest. So you have to be aware of who you're playing to. And luckily for me, she is coming down to receive. And so that's one of the points of talking your team and giving good options. And for me, I'm trying to drag the team over because I know I have a good enough hit to hit a diag from one side of the field to the other. But then when she checks down, I don't have to hit a long diag and I see her checking in and it really works out for me.
It's great.
I mean,
you're so on point about having to know your players. 100%. I used to drop bombs into Mia and she gets so mad at me because she hates heading the ball. And she's like, stop kicking me the ball.
Yeah, and there's players.
And she didn't say it that nicely.
I've got this.
She did not say it that
right on my head.
Yeah, like Michelle Akers or somebody was fine, but like Mia was like, stop kicking me the ball.
Yeah, well, exactly.
So then I learned
to playing to.
Yeah.
I think No, go ahead, Kailen.
No, Naho's a world-class forward and winger, and she's just really good with the ball at her feet. And so for me, we actually talked about this so many times is that I can take that long ball and hit a diag, but if she's checking down, I got to be able to find her through the gaps.
Yeah. I want to bring this up with Omar right here because this is something that we've talked about, like risk versus reward type of thing, and also dictating possession, understanding when is the time and when's not the time. And Omar, how many times have you been training a goalkeeper and in games, maybe at the collegiate level or whatever, they've seen that was on and then they didn't play that. Instead, they've slowed the game down. And now you're in a situation where you're not dictating the speed of the game, right?
Yeah, again, it happens. it has to be in line with what the coach's philosophy is. So, for example, Cal said it, I've said it on here a few times, but I was training with our goalkeepers, and me personally, I love the ball at my feet. So the ball's in the defensive third, the ball goes out for a throw, and they just played a long ball. The other team's pushing up. When my defender would get the ball in a throw in, I check on the corner of my 18 for that throw, throw it to me, then I switch the field. So in training sessions, I would tell my goalkeepers who also love the ball at their feet that, let's train it this way where we, you receive a ball from the other side, you switch it, then that person will cross the ball in. So we're in possession, out of possession. And I remember in season, our goalkeeper showed for the ball on the edge of the 18 and they passed it to him. He cleared it out of bounds. And our coach looked at me and he said, "You know what, Omar? I saw you guys train that a few weeks ago, and I should have told you to F off because I do not want him to be out of his goal like that. I do not ever want to see that ever again. If I see you training that, I'm going to be very upset with you." So I was just like, oh, wow, okay. Well, I mean, I thought that was just like natural for us to receive that ball. Okay, I'm sorry. So our goalkeeper throughout the game would not show for that ball and would get in more trouble because now our defender has no option and they're clearing it out of bounds. So I think, again, it has to be in line with what the coach's philosophy is. And like Kailen said, you need to show the coach the film and say, look, this is a good opportunity for us to even drag somebody in or drag that striker in to account for two things, the striker and the goalkeeper. And then maybe our striker actually our defender has time to return and hit the ball up the field because of that allotted pressure and kind of us showing for that ball. So I think, yes, I've seen that, but I think some goalkeepers, Mike, to answer your question, is they don't have that trust from their coach and they don't have that, like, I think,
well, they don't.
What's it called? Allison may have or Edison may have, where it's like, hey, we're probably going to concede a goal or two because you're going to give a bad back pass.
I mean, first of all, it's a world-class ball that you served. And so, I don't know, am I on? Yeah. Oh, there
you're on. Oh, you're on.
Yeah, you are.
So, but I think the key thing you said there is the trust from the coach, because I think, a lot of coaches, old school coaches and stuff like that, don't have that trust in the keeper to do that, to show that. Do they know the keeper's ability? Do they know that, you're going to mess up some balls and stuff, but that's got to go both ways. The head coach has to realize that you can play through the keeper. They can show there. They can hit that ball instead of being like, no, keepers can't do that. They suck at their feet and
right.
stuff. So that's got to change as well. Back when I played, they could pass it back.
I agree. It's huge. Yeah. It's huge though. It's like trust. Like I would, there's so many teams that I wouldn't be able to play like this on because there wouldn't be that trust and there wouldn't be that confidence that they give to me in order to feel like I now feel really good being able to do what I read. And so because I've gotten that confidence from my coaches, I can play the way I want to read the game coming at me.
Yeah.
And I don't have to think I have to play this way, which ultimately kind of deters the goalkeeper from playing positively.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. And that's
Go ahead, Omar.
No, just to finish off on that point, I think, again, that's the biggest thing where I think, Mike, you even said, like, sometimes you're overcoaching, and I realize that the overcoaching doesn't allow the goalkeeper to play off instinct, but rather always looking over their shoulder. And obviously when you receive a back pass, if the coach is always harping at you, play it long or try to find the pass, you're not playing off instinct anymore. You're being joystick by the coach and you're going to have that voice in your head. So I think, again, it's a fine line of encouraging, but at the same time too, letting them mess up. And if they mess up, like we saw with Ederson a few weeks ago, I think against Bournemouth, he gave a bad back pass. They got it. They got turned, chipped it from half field. And everyone was saying Pep's probably yelling at the defender for not, receiving that ball better. It's not at Ederson. So it's like, again, it's from the top. And again, the kind of, the system that you're trying to build.
Yeah, I want to bring this up right now here, Kailen, because we've been talking about possession with purpose as opposed to just having possession. This is not the most exciting highlight of Kailen Sheridan, but for goalkeeper nerds right here, this could be a fun one right here. Okay, so again, okay, so now we can go. Here's a better game for you right here that we can use. So it's Washington Sky Blue right here, and kind of walk us through right here, basically. Not the most exciting play, but look at how you're making the right decision on what you feel is necessary at that moment right there in order to change the point of attack, in order to look for the right options. You're taking your time here. Yeah. You're doing everything right there.
But I think going on to what Kailen said is look at her defense dropping for her and showing and spreading now she has the options and everything. And so, and working it, playing it short, playing it long and everything, it opens it up. So you're all working together in this situation.
Yeah, definitely. We haven't played like this in a while, and this was one of the biggest quarantine Zoom meeting working things that we worked on and really put into action and showed so many clips of them being ready for me and available for me and wanting the ball, as even though you're necessarily like when the goalkeeper has the ball, a lot of players turn off. They're like, oh, we can breathe. We can take a break.
Right.
Where's the ball? I'm like, no. When I have the ball, we're going. This is how we start the attack. They're turned off. They're thinking the same thing. The goalkeeper has the ball. We don't have to worry. That's exactly the time that you guys need to be ready and we can take advantage. But for that one, that's more possession and they're set and we want to manipulate them. And so that bounce with my center back at the time, which could also be a 6, in any, if those are the 2 center backs wide, that could be a 6. But in that case, that's a center back. We bounce with the center back and make the 2 forwards have to make a decision. Who am I going to go to? Am I going to go to the center back over there? Or am I going to stay in the middle here? And when they make a decision, now it's a 3v2 for us. And technically it's a 3v4 because now I have an option out wide, each side, a middle option, and me. I'm an option, which I think a lot of people forget. So when you bounce, it could be a bounce or it could be an opportunity to turn. It depends on your communication. I think one of the bigger things that we also worked on was my depth and being a little bit closer to make myself now even more of an option for them to press, which takes them out of position. And so if they choose to come get me, now I have 2 options. Yeah. And so that was a lot of work and a lot of talking and a lot of the more mundane stuff that you work on in practice, because it's not shooting and, trick plays to get up the field high, but it's that stuff that you work on in the 18 where you're just bouncing and you're under pressure, but you're just bouncing and moving the ball around and retaining possession.
It's not a behind the back clearance.
Yeah, no. It's not like one of those beautiful plays that.
But what you said about, it's what you do in practice and stuff like that. Like, it's not all shooting. It's not all like small sided game. It's not, what does a goalkeeper do 90% of the time? Possession. They do distribution. They're not pulling the ball. They're not pulling the ball out of the upper 90. If they are, they need to find a new team. So like 90% of the time,
make it like 1 or 2, and that should be it.
Yeah, 90% of the time you're doing distribution, your possession. So it should be practice. Like, and a lot of young kids and coaches out there are listening. You can't expect, number one, like, you can't expect your kid to walk up and be able to ping a goal kick or, hit a side volley or like be comfortable in this. This has to be practice. It's gotta be, you gotta go over it. And same to goalkeepers out there. Like, it drives me crazy when like, I give my club goalkeepers homework, and a lot of that has to do with distribution and stuff like that. And I'm like, you got to get it in, because I'm not going to spend every practice working on this. Like, we have to work on some other stuff too, but you got to go over it. So everybody's comfortable with it, and you have to go over it with your team. So everybody's comfortable with it.
And I want everyone to hear that right there in regards to either a young coach or a young goalkeeper right there. You realize how much information Kailen just gave on that simple play. So when you're watching the game and you think this is just a routine play back to the goalkeeper possession, you have to see those little nuances right there of, oh, it's not on. I'm going to switch the chain. I'm going to switch point of attack now. Oh, it is on. I'm going to play that ball. Kailen, I saw 3 or 4 different scenarios right there that you saw in your head in that moment, and you decided which one was the best option for you at that moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think I had a kid ask me the other day, we were at camp, and we said, like, time to ask some questions. And the first question was, what's the most important part of being a goalkeeper? It's your feet. 110%, it's your feet. I'm going to go ahead and say that everybody can make saves, and it's easy to teach somebody how to make saves. It's easier than teaching somebody how to play in pressure and how to play and be confident with the ball at your feet and make decisions, because it is one of the harder things to put into training. But I think for us, like, I've been challenged at the Keeper Institute, I've been challenged by Sky Blue, and I've been challenged by Canada to be more comfortable under heavy pressure right in front of my goal, right in the middle, right where you really don't want the ball at your feet. Like, really where goalkeepers in the past have been like, kick it the hell out of here, get it out. But now they're saying, okay, play in here as long as you can. Bring as many people in as you can, and then go. Yeah. Bring them all in. Get all their players as close to you as you can, and then we'll find the pocket. And I think that's like the biggest change in the game. And it is really hard. It is. But I think it's one of the most important parts of being a goalkeeper is being confident and reading the other team's decisions and making your decisions based off of what they're giving you.
So Omar, I have a question for you, Mr. Professor, right here. How do you build a session that first off goes viral, but second of all is beneficial? No, joking. How do you build a session to kind of teach this skill of drawing the players in, and how do we do it so it's not artificial, so the goalkeeper doesn't know it's the same? Because I think that's one of the problems, and we talked about it with Phil yesterday, is a lot of goalkeepers start reading patterns and then just start they start only understanding how to move in that pattern because that's what they're used to at training, and it's very artificial and sterile, and there's no variables that take the unexplained, or Saskia, we've talked about it, like the game is messy, like there's going to be deflections, there's going to be a bad bouncing ball to you. How do you deal with that? Your touch wasn't the greatest, all that, so this is to Omar.
I think sometimes, like even at Cal State LA, there were times where, again, we didn't play out of the back, so we didn't train it as often, but obviously to keep them stimulated and put them in positions where, we try to recreate certain scenarios. I would show them some film and say, look, this is what I'm trying to recreate today. And for example, the ball will go out of bounds, we put it down for a goal kick, and now they're kind of, high pressing, maybe 20, 30 yards out, playing out of the back, and I'd have my extra goalkeepers start pressing a little bit. So now we play like a little rondo, but with like actual game size dimensions. So now the goalkeeper's having to figure out, where does their first touch go? Okay, if we're gonna bypass, where are you gonna show next? So finishing one progression and one picture, and then progressing to the next picture. And the ball always came back to the goalkeepers because we wanted to just keep on, trying to work that out. But again, it was just taking a very small scenario that we saw in a game and then putting it in game size dimensions, and then actual pressure and realistic pressure. So we had offensive and defensive players that we could, plug in. And then from there, that
he froze.
picture, and now they're getting an idea of, how comfortable. Oh God.
It's okay.
Still.
No, it's okay. It's okay, dude. This is going to be the best edit ever. I love it.
I could always do voiceovers later, but no, yeah, that's what it was though. We did that, and then there were times too where we'd have like balls over the top, and I would be the guy running onto the pass as a center back. I'd play the ball to him, our goalkeeper, and then we'd have the guys who were not, in the reps, our other goalkeepers, they'd come and press as well. So again, now we're just showing like actual game-like scenarios where you're going to receive the ball, and then from there, now they can actually see the picture and then know where their press touch is supposed to go, know what they're comfortable with in terms of where to take the ball. Are they dominant with their right foot, dominant with their left foot? Where do they show if they don't want to get the ball with their left foot? All these little things that if we can show them early and have them mess up with high pressure, then in a game, they have an idea of, okay, I have less pressure now because I can see from my peripheral that they gave me like 5 yards instead of, 10. Then from there, I can actually take my touch a certain way. And as long as they're comfortable with seeing certain patterns in training, once they get to the game, they're going to have an idea of if the other team takes a chance, okay, I've seen this before, take my touch and play it into the channel. So again, just giving them the best possible way to see scenarios prior to the game is the best way to train it, I think.
Or you could play futsal, like you.
You
I
definitely can. You definitely can.
I saw your dad. Is that your dad that just commented? Matt.
Mine?
No, I'm looking at our comments on
Kailen.
Is that my dad? Yeah, my
Matt
dad.
Sheridan?
Yeah, we played futsal a lot growing up.
I'm just looking at your dad.
Indoors. It was awesome. I worked with the boys, and they challenged me big time. But I think a point on what you were saying is watching the film on it is Jill used to give me so many clips of me just clearing it and being under like no pressure. Like somebody was coming, but they were at least 15 yards away. And I had all this time. And I was like, I'm under pressure. What do you mean? They're coming. Oh, and she would be like, let's watch the clip. Clear it. Let's measure out how far they really are. And once I watched it over and over, and I saw this like pattern of me just seeing pressure and panicking and getting rid of it, and thinking that I was under like duress, like all 11 people were running at me is what I've been like talking to her about. I was like, they're all coming, Jill, what the heck? I gotta get it out. And she'd be like, what if you take a touch? What are they gonna do? And so we started working on just like fake scenarios in film. Watching, I really got to see how far they really were and make better decisions. But it still goes back to, I still need my defenders to now drop to give me the options. If I'm
yes. And Mike, I want to just one last thing I kind of want to add on to that. I think, Kailen, you make a really good point, though. I think, again, if I'm a striker, again, I always try to put myself in the striker's perspective. If I have a goalkeeper who's always showing for the ball, it's going to be difficult for me to obviously account for the center back or whoever has the ball and the goalkeeper. But if I know for a fact that when that goalkeeper receives the ball, their team is not set up to play out of the back, it's so easy for me as a striker to read, I'm going to go all out at this goalkeeper because I know for a fact they're either going to play it out of bounds or they're going to try and take a touch and try and play it out of the back, but their team's not not set up for it. So again, as a striker, that's why I think it's important for goalkeepers to play a striker, play center back or midfield, so they have an idea of what it looks like from a different perspective, so they can gain that different perspective, so that when they do receive the ball, they have an idea of where those passing lanes may be open or what a center back may be thinking when that goalkeeper does get that ball.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that that's a really, really, really good point in regards to that. I want to talk about this though, because I want to talk about the building off the ball awareness. And by the way, Kailen, I was the king of. I thought like Mbappe was coming at me every single time.
You were the king of just booting it.
I was the king of just booting it. Because I was so scared about the risk of if I went to then I'm like, well, I don't know what to talk about. You see the guys charging right at me, like, yeah.
We could get away with it because that's how the game it was, and there was no like let's possess even though you're being pressed. And like within the last 5-10 years, like it's shifted so much, and it's only going to keep shifting. So I think that's the biggest, and it's about being comfortable. And you guys were talking about like playing with the team and like building out and working on your foot skills. And that's something that like my dad was even just commenting, like I used to do that and like just work with, do the rondos with the team and then go be with the goalkeepers, like challenge your feet during practice so that you're not just consistently working on your handling or your diving or your crossing or your 1v1. There's also your feet that are really important and your chemistry with the team.
I've seen that before in regards to with a lot of young goalkeepers who do play futsal, Kailen, and Saskia's obviously always brought up the rondos thing as well too. Tight spaces, when you learn how to escape in tight spaces, it's only going to help your game. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do Cruyff turns every 10 seconds in a game, but you want to have that in your arsenal, right, Sas? I'm putting you on the spot there because it's a trick question.
There's something wrong if you have to do some like Cruyff or something. I mean, look, I want you to control the ball and go with your feet, but if you're under that much pressure and still like we got a problem. You didn't get rid of the ball fast enough.
But I think too, even with like Allison and Ederson, no one really dives anymore. People used to always slide, but I think after you watch enough film on them now, it's like go out, pressure them, but most likely they're probably going to try something fancy. So just stay on your feet. So again, as much as we're watching scouting reports on the strikers are watching scouting reports on us. So it's obviously good to be mindful of that as well.
Well, absolutely. Before, not that I've coached that many games yet, some two spring games and stuff like that for UCLA, but even in the fall games and stuff when I was there, just kind of working in a sense with them and everything. Like I always turn and while the keepers are warming up and everything and the team's doing shooting, I watch the other keepers and I watch how they're doing their distribution, how they're warming up with their feet, if they're holding the ball and I'll turn around to the team and I'll turn around to the forwards and everybody and be like, guys, really suspect with their feet, not comfortable. Their goal kickers aren't going far and everything. Pressure, like see it. So if you think for 1 second, coaches out there, that the other team isn't watching and aware and going to put you under that pressure, it's why you have to train and you have to train your keepers to do possession under pressure and to do possession and your back line and the people that are showing for them under pressure. You can't just have your keeper in the goal, knock them a ball, take a touch, hit it to the other person, knock the ball back in, take a touch, hit it to the other person. Oh, do your left foot now. Like,
right. It's all about decision making. It's all about being able to decide under pressure and like have the skills, like you were saying, in your arsenal to like get out of pressure. But at the end of the day, if you make the right decision, you don't really have to worry as much.
Yeah, but you brought up a really good point in regards to the pressure thing. And like one thing that I do with a lot of young goalkeepers, and it's always so hilarious to me, because like when they play a ball that's a risky ball or whatever, I'll literally turn around and then just, either play the ball to somebody else for them to shoot or just directly play onto them on shoot. And they go, well, what I thought we're working on. I'm like, yeah, dude, what would happen in a game if you played that ball? That's you telegraphed that pass so badly. I know exactly what you're going to do. And I want you to start understanding we have the ball, they have the ball, and how you have to be able to immediately change. And you know what? I don't want you making excuses in the middle of the moment. You made a mistake and now we have to deal with it, and you have to play through it, and you have to go with that. And I want to talk about off the ball movement with you, Kailen, because I think one of the things that you do really well is you're talking about depth, you're talking about width, you're talking about moving off the ball and understanding how you can best support your team. So kind of break down what you meant by that, and also like how young goalkeepers can work on that on their own too.
Yeah, I think it's another point of reading the game and seeing what you're needed in the game. So if I'm playing to a center back, where is the pressure going to come for that center back, and where can I be to help them get out of it? And typically you want to be off the shoulder of that forward so that you can now get out of pressure easily too. But depending on how many players they have high, you got to read how many players they have high. So how deep do I have to be? How high can I be to my players so that I can help them out? It's the same thing of on the ball reading, where can I go? Now I'm without the ball, it's even harder because you got to really stay tuned in and mentally engaged in your game to be as helpful as you can to your players. So when we're playing a 4-back and my outside back has the ball, where can I be to really help that player off the center back shoulder so that we're not in the same line, right? But I'm giving a great angle so that if they turn around and they have nothing, I'm there. And I mean, a big point to that is in one of the games in the Challenge Cup, my mileage was so high that they told me I had to rest the next day. I wasn't allowed to do anything.
Nice.
Wait, seriously?
Nice.
Like you'd played midfield?
That'd be awesome.
I was getting too close to the other players, and they were like, "We're gonna chill. Like, you're gonna take today off, and like, no discussion. We're not. I don't want to hear what you have to say. Like, we read your loads. It's done." And I mean, my mileage shouldn't get that high for goalkeepers, but it should in this new game that we're playing, where you have to play possession and be in a really good angle. And the hardest part is that the ball moves faster than anybody. And so I got to move, and you got to be a field player. You got to be a center back, a midfielder. You got to be it all. And it's not easy. It sucks, but you got to be fit enough to do it.
I would also wonder what the coach was thinking on why your mileage was that high.
My coach was like, "What
was in your end that much?" I'm like,
everybody else was like, "Hey, what the heck, man? Why are you making this like we're getting in trouble for you?" Like, I was like, "Well,
why did I have so much work to do?"
Yeah, why
There's a breakdown somewhere,
and I got to run from side to side. I shouldn't be having to do sprint 60 yards.
Yeah, there's something wrong with the goalkeeper when the goalkeeper's getting more of a sweat than the forwards. Like that's
yeah. I've never in my life gotten the next day off. I just have to run fitness after
I
the
wasn't
game.
doing more mileage than them, but my mileage was too high, and I was like, okay. And like my red zone sprints were too high.
Wow.
Like I was trying to get from one side, and they were it's just kind of a testament though to like how we play possession is you might not be getting on the ball. The ball might not be at your feet. You might not be in possession, but your team's in possession, and you're one of the players that has to be a supporting angle for them. And that goes back to like how many options do you have, and you can always be an option if your back line has the ball. The goalkeeper, no matter what, can always be one of the options. You just have to be in the right spot.
Yeah.
I think you brought up a really good point right there, and I kind of want to talk about that Man City Real Madrid game from Champions League from last week, because Courtois, I mean, we know what we're talking about right here, and I want Omar to kind of face it, because I know. Did you do a breakdown of this on your channel, or did you just have 17,000 discussions with people in regards to the square ball that Courtois played? But he was not in a good area, right?
I didn't post it.
Okay.
Sorry, keep going.
Okay. Okay. You didn't post it, but no, he was not in a good area. And I think we all saw that. And Omar, that why was to be in such a deep position and then just play that square ball to the corner doesn't help that player whatsoever. Like, you're going to get caught in a bad situation right there. And Courtois just stood there. He didn't all of a sudden it changes. Obviously, this is the highest level and stuff like that. I'm not saying Courtois is not a good goalkeeper or whatever, because his pinky's better than me. But You guys know, I don't know where I'm going with this. All I know is I was very frustrated with that because I'm a Real Madrid fan. So just
No, I'm with you. But again, it comes from the top. It comes from the top. I mean, if Zidane is telling him to play that ball, then I think Varane is one of the best defenders in the world. And in that situation, he probably could have cleared it first time. But still, I think Courtois plays that ball probably because the system is allowing him to do that. But as a goalkeeper, again, we talk about it like this. No matter what the coach says, you still have to make the educated and smart decision based on what you see. And Man City was pressing the entire first 10 minutes of the game. And to play that ball, you're just inviting more and more pressure. And it's risk versus reward. Like, what reward are you going to get out of that? You're playing the ball back to your guy who's on the corner of the 18, the bottom corner of the 18. You're going to do just as much as he will by clearing that ball. But again, he's playing that ball. The ball's coming across to his right foot. He's a lefty. So I don't know. You just don't, I haven't seen Courtois hit many right-footed balls. So I don't know if maybe he's not comfortable with that and maybe he decided to dip that off. I don't know. There's still a lot of context, but in that situation, it's a beautiful example of just clear the ball up the field. We'll deal with it later. Just clear it up the field. And that moment obviously turned into, 1-0. So I think that's where it's a good learning point for young goalkeepers.
Well, if it had been Kailen Sheridan, that wouldn't have happened. That's all I'm saying.
Don't
if
say
it
that.
was you just would have booted it.
If it was me, I would have put it down. It wouldn't have happened with me either. So what I'm saying
is,
if it was
me, I would have picked it up. Well, okay, the rule changed partway through my career.
Saskia,
so imagine, hey, I have a great throw because of that. Just so you know. I can one-hop into midfield. But
Aurelio Gomez
just picked up the ball and they just sat there for like 20 minutes.
Hey,
waiting
man.
Oh my gosh.
Those were the days.
Go back and watch. I'm telling you, go back and watch Denmark versus Germany. I think it was in the Euro 1988 or 1990. I think when Denmark ended up winning, and they wasted so much time by like from midfield, the guy would turn around and just boot it back to Schmeichel. Schmeichel put his foot on it and then pick the ball up. And I think after that, they ended up changing the rule.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So let's talk a little bit about what some goalkeeper coaches out there can do. One of the things I think that we discussed is that they have to work with the goalkeepers under pressure. It's the only way they're going to learn how to deal with these scenarios. Basically, what are some of like the tricks or tips that you've seen, Kailen, through your playing career and even in your coaching career, that burgeoning coaching career that you've got going on right now as well too. The kind of little hacks that make that job a little bit easier, or that, when you've had a coach do this to you, you go like, oh, you know what? This has helped me. When they've done it this way, it hasn't helped me.
Yeah, I think some of the things that I've personally been a part of that have been really helpful is it's really similar to how you do attack versus defend, but the attackers have the ball, but you do attack versus defend where the defenders are trying to break pressure and you put them completely under pressure. And sometimes we even go a man down just so that we can be fully under pressure and really uncomfortable in our own 18 and trying to get possess the ball all the way up to half. We ideally don't want to play the long, but if that's the right decision, it's not wrong. And we're allowed to play that if it's on and if we're completely under pressure, but that's up to our decision making in the run of play. So we'll play like a 7v6. So we have like a 4-2 midfielders. And then we have 7 people attacking us, trying to not let us escape. And if they win, they come and get it. So we really have to learn what's the right decision, how do we break pressure, that kind of stuff. And then just going back to playing in the rondos and playing with the team and being a part of the team to do some of the footwork. And then when you're in goal, really like putting in the distribution piece into your handling, diving, all that, but under pressure.
Yeah.
It's like you were saying, just like you can pass the ball one touch, you can take a touch and hit it. Yeah, you can do that. And that's something you can do on your own. That's something you can do all day on your own. Yeah. So the things that you want to do when you're with your team are things that you can't do on your own, which are somebody running at you, somebody turning off. So typically we'll have 2 options and they'll decide if they want to be on or not. And so I'll have to decide based on their decision to be on or not if I can play them. And I'll have somebody running at me trying to take the ball from me.
Yeah, and coach, even with things you can do, like, I mean, I've watched our club coaches, one of whom is Kelly Parker, who I just took a snapshot. I took a snapshot and said, "Look who's on the show," and she's like, "Nice." So hi, Kel. They'll do small-sided and they'll do stuff where the keepers can't use their hands. And
yeah,
so that
even better.
They're using them as that other attacker, like, and that's a step further from rondos and everything, but it's important. And so those are team things you can do. Absolutely. I mean, I can't like put pressure on the goalkeeper. I can't run anymore. So, but
we put pressure on each other though. You always have
I'm
a couple goalkeepers going. You go put pressure on her.
Yeah, that's what the other kids are for.
You're like, who wants to be?
You get that work. That's how you get that, Kailen. That's how you get.
Like idiots.
I know. At UCLA, I'm like, Amanda, who's rehabbing? Who do I have? Send them over.
Exactly.
But you brought up a really good point in regards to Kailen, in regards to like, that's all work that you can do on your own. When you get to me as the goalkeeper coach, like, I don't want to have to spend an hour and a half today working on this in isolation, as Franz Hook calls it. I want to spend that time that I have, because I have the numbers and I have the resources right now to work on under pressure. And Saskia, I'm not going to call it any names or whatever, but you've been very impressed with certain goalkeepers this year that you work with, who've put that time in during the quarantine. So now when you've come back to them, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much better, because now I can really focus on what I want to with you right now, which is that game realistic pressure situation.
Right. I mean, we can talk about Lauren. I mean, it's fine. Like Lauren with UCLA, she has put, like, even before I got to UCLA, I put so much time into her confidence, in her distribution, her feet and everything. She's ridiculous. And she has services. You've seen her, and you saw her in the spring, in a spring game and stuff, just in warm up. And it's just like, but the time away from us and away from the team that she put in to do that made the difference, because she wasn't that good at it. And now she's like amazing. And now I don't have to spend the time working on her technique on what to do. But now Amanda can say, give me Lauren, give me, Ian, Hannah, and let's put them under pressure and, work through the back, and so we can. But that goes on you individual players out there. And we just had this discussion earlier before we got on the feed. And you have to take, what are you doing to improve this if you're not good at it outside of something organized? Like, what are you doing on your own? And because it's not just going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. You have to practice. It's got to be repetition. It has to be confidence. Because at the end of the day, you also have to be confident in your ability to serve a ball. Like that ball, that ball that you hit across the field was amazing. Because I can tell you right now, I know a lot of goalkeepers that wouldn't have hit that ball because they don't have the confidence in their ability to strike that ball.
See, I would hit that ball, but it would be a mistake.
I would
have meant to play it the other way, and it would have gone like that.
Thrown that ball.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like a lot of people forget, like, possession. It could be with your feet, but I think possession is also when you're playing out with your hands and
absolutely
the throw or a side volley or even hitting into and behind the line. Like, that's huge in possession, and those decisions shouldn't be wrong when you're playing possession. Like when you're practicing it and you're trying to play this like tight, small touches under pressure, really feel it. Sometimes you got to make that decision to break pressure, and like putting me or putting other goalkeepers in the position to like have to make that decision. And we're like, we played so small, and I haven't changed. I haven't made a decision that's different. I've made the same decision over and over. That's to play small. We haven't gotten anywhere. And so it's to really be able to read that. And now the ball's in my hands. Can I find somebody over?
Right.
Can I use that throw?
And you need to have that, because that's another thing that you see with young goalkeepers and now coaching and stuff. God, they can't throw. Sorry, and like I am adamant, like my goalkeepers have to have everything in their arsenal, and they have to be able to pick up and seriously lead a player off a one-hop throw and a proper line drive throw, and that's, because that's an option too, and it's a very quick option if you need it. If you pick up like a rebound on the far side of the box and you want to do a quick option, it's in your hands, you should be able to serve that ball to weak side, from your hands. And I think I saw a lot of keepers got into that thing of, well, now I'm going to throw the ball on the ground to myself, and now I'm going to kick it, and I'm like, okay, that took like 3 seconds, when now the pressure's on, when you could have just like seriously thrown the ball. You can't throw the ball 20 yards. Like, you seriously could have thrown the ball 20 to 30 yards, one hop it, and we would have been out. But now, because you did this little spin, and now you're looking up, and now you're serving the ball, now the pressure's on. So you have to,
especially in transition. It's
exactly
huge. It's massive, because everybody's all just been with you in your end for however long.
Yeah.
And there's these little gaps that you got to find, and you can't necessarily put it down and play out because the pressure's in your box, and you can't hit it out of your hands necessarily. It's harder to learn the accuracy of hitting a shorter ball out of your hand.
Right. Which
that throw is lethal.
Yeah, it throws incredible, and it's got to be practiced. And like I actually, to tell you, because I break down like how to throw a ball, and like how your body's supposed to be and everything. And you got to practice it, you guys. I'm sorry, kids just don't get it. Like It's crazy.
They always saying that they can't hold it. And I'm like, I don't hold it.
You don't hold it against your
the holding thing
you
is
put it against your foot. I know, and like
I'm like, who's holding it?
Like,
I'm not whipping a baseball.
I do a drill with my keepers on the basketball court for them to work on their accuracy and distance throw. And I get a bag of soccer balls and they have to do half court or like 3/4 court shots from their hands. And the reason is because if you throw it properly and your body is lined properly, even though it's going high, but the accuracy and the backspin that you're supposed to get on that throw, it will drop it right into the net off the I used to do that all the time. So it's stuff that has to be practiced, like, because kids can't throw. They can't throw everything. And it's such a good weapon.
They really can. Now, Omar, I want to talk to you about this because, one of the things that does happen is when people do teach the throwing mechanics, and I think this isn't that much of a tangent because it does still have to do with possession.
Absolutely, it does.
They don't do it under pressure. So kids, even if they learn the mechanics, they learn the mechanics of how to throw in a sterile environment where they're going through cones and then they're throwing back to the coach or the server or whatever. And that's it. Or they're rolling the ball to a server, or they're, push throwing a ball to a server, but they're not actually dealing with game situation throwing. So how do we make sure that we add that element to our sessions so that they get comfortable using the throws in the actual game?
When to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think, again, I love to use the example of, like, we talk about different sports, like basketball, for example. Like Steph Curry can hit as many stationary threes as he possibly can, right? He can probably stand there and probably hit 50 in a row. And he has. I've seen it on YouTube, Instagram, when they post it from the Warriors channel. But then other times it's like the person who's actually amazing using that technique and turning it into a skill is the person who can go at full speed and still get that same shot off and make it 9 out of 10 times. Face. Exactly. So that's kind of how I compare it to, for my goalkeepers to have to understand, of like, you can have a technique, which is distribution. You can put a ball down, you can chip it in.
Oh, did you freeze again?
Sure.
Omar.
Okay.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Just go back and chip it. Chip it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you need to get some
new
Wi-Fi.
We talk about all the time. Like, yeah. No, I'll make it quick. I just see, we see kids all the time who are like, working on their chip balls and doing all that stuff. And I get it. Go for it. Yes, you're working on the technique. But as Anthony White said, you have to develop the skill around the technique. There's a lot of technical goalkeepers, but not a lot of skillful ones. And the skillful ones are the difference makers, and the one like Kailen, who plays at that next level and can play in a system that allows them to, or forces them to play a certain way. And when I talk about that from my sessions perspective, sometimes I'll do a chip ball in, and then I'll say, hey, you're going to play to your 6, show off. And then from there, you're going to play it out to the server out there, who's your left back, who's going to end up crossing the ball in. So just getting creative of where those outlet passes are coming, or where those balls are coming in from, and where those outlet passes are going to, whether it's the 6, whether it's a left back, but trying to create an environment for the goalkeeper to play at game speed. And then from there, obviously, now they're out of possession, and then you have to show for a ball for a pass back to clear it up first time, or they drop into a goal for a cross coming in. You know what I mean? So just showing them different looks and their throws, and then from there, if you have, progression afterwards, just a service or a pass back, I think that's really, really beneficial to having them play at game speed, but then also recovering and showing for a ball or going up for a cross.
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes back to recognizing under pressure, under game speed, which is exactly right, when to make certain decisions. And obviously you have a lot of options, but like, I'll say even in some of practice and stuff, like I would sit there and be like, okay, you keep getting the ball in small side and you keep giving the same short pass. You keep giving the same short pass when, Mia's up there wide open, and like, why not go long? Why not and it's small side. Why not throw it long? You just picked up this ball. You have that option, like, change it up. Understand that you have different scenarios, but that comes down to reading the game, and it comes down to understanding what the game needs at the time. And the only way to simulate that is to put your keeper under pressure.
And I think, bring up a really good point. I want to, ask Kailen about this, is like, and by the way, guys, how's everybody doing on time? We'll start wrapping up in the next couple minutes right here. When you are training how to throw, how important is that element of disguise as well? Because I think that's one of the biggest problems that I see with a lot of young goalkeepers is they think, okay, well, I have the ball in my hands. Well, I've got control. I can just throw the ball. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It is so
over there.
It's seriously, it's the point like they're calling their home run, and they get in the pose, they get in that shape, and then it's like 4 seconds before they finally throw the ball. And by then, 3 dudes are like, "Oh, I know exactly where you're playing this ball,"
right.
and then they wonder why they lose the ball.
But that just, I don't want to answer, but I would say it comes under speed of play. That's the same as if you were to put the ball on the ground and you were looking at your back and be like, I'm going to pass the ball to you. It's speed of play.
Yeah.
And that's what I.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I think that the throw is the biggest weapon in transition because it's the easiest way in a crowd or group of people to get the ball out in a farther manner with speed. But at the same time, you can use that deception in your favor. I ended up not throwing the ball so many times because I've gone like this and people decide to drop or step. And now this player right here is wide open. So as soon as I go like this player is now open. I can just play off. I think the deception, you can use it in your favor. If you're smart enough to kind of read that and see that player's already kind of deciding, I want to press maybe your outside back. So their outside back is deciding, I see that player on my step. You kind of show them that you're going to do that, which opens up another player.
Right.
So yeah, I think it is, you can definitely, like, you're reading a book, you see when they're going to throw it. It's hard to disguise in a way.
Yeah, don't do it like a no look pass, guys. It's not.
Yeah, you got to be looking. You got to look.
Omar, I know.
Hey!
You use it in your face. Yeah, exactly.
It's not a good idea.
It's like more like I'm going this way, but like 2 people are on right here. So I'm going to find one of them. I'm going to attract them to the longer one, and then we're going to play the shorter one.
Yeah.
Omar, you're not doing any no look pass videos, breakdowns coming up in a sentence?
No.
I swear to God.
Not anytime soon.
I swear to God, though, because it comes back to kids being so literal when you're just like, I'm always like, speed of play. If you're going to throw it, just get it done. They're like, I got these kids, these boys especially, they'll be like, and I'm like, really? I'm like, because you faked your own defender out, right?
Yeah, your defender's like, all right, cool, let's go on there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Don't tell me you guys haven't seen kids do that.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. And then just like the hips are turned in this other way, and then they're trying to play this ball right here or whatever, and it's like they wonder why there's this weird bend on the ball. And I'm like, dude, where, like if you would open up your hips for a pass, like you're doing the same thing. And I just think it's just something that we just need to explain to kids, that when we have possession, it's the same thing as when we have the ball in possession at our feet. Right there. All right, guys, as we start wrapping up right here, and Kailen, thanks for taking the time. I think you guys have gone back to training again, right? You guys are right back at it?
Yeah, we head back in on Monday.
Wow.
Yeah,
man.
Right back in.
Yeah. So you got a little bit of a rest from that load from all that.
I chilled out from that one game that killed me.
But before we get going here, if you had to give out like kind of any like advice to a young goalkeeper who's finding it, because I think this is one of the toughest things, we can talk all we want about concept and theory, but it's another thing to be 11 years old. It's another thing to be 10 years old, and you're in that position, and it's honestly, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of scary to try to dictate the play and try to stay connected with your team and have that, and because you at that age, I know myself, I worried what they thought of me. And I was scared, like if I made a mistake, what would they think of me and all of that. So what advice do you give to those players to stay connected with their team and not fear the repercussions?
Yeah, I think it's hard because I could say like the easy answer of, you're going to make a ton of mistakes and be okay with it because that's how we're going to grow. But I think that's a lot easier for me to say now. And even at 11, I would have been like, yeah, whatever, shut up. I need to not make mistakes so that everybody's impressed and like I'm the best. And that's the only way I can be the best. But I think so many people told me that and they were completely right. Like I made a ton of mistakes. I still make mistakes. And those mistakes are how I can now make better decisions under pressure in the game, because I made those mistakes and I played the wrong pass or I lost the ball in the 18. And now I know I gotta look for these other options that are actually more available, and I gotta watch my film, and I gotta really allow myself to be so uncomfortable in order to, maybe it takes a year, maybe it takes a couple months, be more comfortable. But at the end of the day, it's putting yourself in really uncomfortable situations and being okay with the mistakes, as hard as that sounds. And I feel like an ass because I would not have taken that advice But I think it's a good point. Like the people who told me were right. And I apologize that I did listen. I was still really, really hard on myself, but you got to be uncomfortable. And you got to put yourself in learning opportunities and make the mistakes so that you now have this bank of memory where you can remember being uncomfortable and making that mistake. And you probably won't do it again because you've learned from it.
I think we just talked about that too, Mike, before we got on. We had a long conversation. You have to, it's the same, I put it in a context of understanding your range with crosses. Like how do you learn what your range is with crosses? You work on it. You make mistakes. You realize what's too far, what you can go for, what you can't go for. And it's the same in this situation. Like you have to be okay making mistakes. You have to push yourself to learn what's right, what's wrong, and also what you can do, instead of being comfortable and safe and being like, okay, I got the ball, I'm going to play it here. Again, what can you hit that ball? Can you hit that service? Try, and try again. And eventually maybe you can. And then eventually maybe it's just not in your wheelhouse, but you're not going to know. So don't just play safe. Like push yourself, preferably not in the game, push yourself, right? And then, and find out what your range is on everything.
Yeah. I think you guys brought up a really good point right there. And Omar, I want to finish off with you right here. Is in regards to being honest with yourself and honest in like, what are your capabilities?
I couldn't have hit that.
Yeah.
I would never have done that. That's why
I'm just going to go ahead and say that if people Google it, and I'm very okay and secure now, I was terrified, but I scored on myself against Germany. And I have been embarrassed since that day and denied being in that game. But it was one of my first couple caps. I made a huge mistake under pressure. I panicked. And
yeah, that'll be on my channel tomorrow.
Oh, he's gonna find it.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I'm
surprised Omar's not like this right now.
But I mean, just to add to like what I was saying about making mistakes and for kids to try and be okay with it, like I'm still making mistakes, huge mistakes that are costing my team, my country. Like it's huge, and I have to learn from them, and I have to grow. And I've grown from that mistake a couple years ago, almost 4 years ago. And I've been able to put that in my memory bank and use that to make myself better in possession, because it was an in possession goal.
I've been in that situation before too. Not at the international Germany versus Germany world power level. But I've been in that situation before too. And honestly, it really hurt me, because I immediately thought, what does everybody else think about me? And it made me second guess what to do in the next opportunity. And I was scared to try to do the same thing again, because
Definitely.
I was worried.
It's terrifying.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's terrifying. I didn't want the ball at my feet. It was on my left foot. I don't want it on my left foot. That's no. Don't give it to me there. Like I made this mistake. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And I've had really good, luckily I've been really lucky to have some really good coaches who have been like, do it again until we get it. And like, let's not run away from it, because this is where we need to be better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think one thing, and Omar, I know you used to talk about this when you were a kid, and then we will promise wrap up, guys. But I do want to share this, because Omar used to talk about how he felt that he was slow when he was younger and coming off his line, that he wasn't as fast as some of, El Gato, like Saskia right here, who could come off any line. And because of that, you needed to understand, and you had to be realistic in like, how many touches can you allow before you can no longer come for that ball? Are you quick enough that you can come for that ball right now after that one, or do you have to wait another second? Or like how much ground can you allow somebody to gain?
No, you're right. I think that was being, self-aware and figuring out that, okay, any ball over the top now is probably something that the other team is scouting me on and wanting to do. And if I was them, I'd probably do the exact same thing. So I was like, you know what, maybe I start a little bit higher. And there were times where I misread the ball and they would touch the ball around me, dribble around me and score. But after a while, I told myself, just keep doing it. And I had a coach who was very supportive. He's like, we're already losing 5-6-0 every game. So why not just keep trying new things, dude. At this point, there's not, we lose 7-8-0. It's not a big deal. Don't worry. So I luckily luckily, whether I knew it or not, I had the opportunity to kind of have some, some free reign to kind of try new things. And eventually I figured out my range and where, how fast I was and what, the with the wind, against the wind, ball coming over the top, if it's going towards the end line, where do I stand? If I don't come out for it, how do I recover back to my line if I don't decide to come? So it was all those little things, but like Kailen said, just trial and error. I think most of the professionals and some of the best, players, goalkeepers, in any sport have been able to make those mistakes, but they were smart enough not to make the same mistake twice.
Oh, the little Oompa Loompa Omar. Oh, poor guy.
Dude, it was embarrassing, bro. I used to get chipped from half field because I started cheating up and they started hitting the ball. Dude, I'm not kidding. They would shoot the ball, like their coaches, they shoot it and the guy would turn. And it was back when we had like smaller fields. So this guy would turn and like blast it from half field and score on me. Well, I was like 10 years old, and then like when I hit 11, we started playing on the bigger ones, so bigger goals. But like even then, I used to either like park it on the line, literally on the line, so that's why the balls came over the top, or I would be the guy on top of the 18, and they would shoot it from far, and I would literally like run back, close my eyes, and hope that I punched it over. Yeah, it was embarrassing. My own team was just like, all right, we need a new keeper, and I was like, dude, I'm with you. I'll go on Y Scout. We'll find somebody for you guys by next week. Don't worry, I'll see myself out.
Oh my gosh! Oh, but please, if there's 10-year-olds on Y Scout, there's something wrong with the world right now. Hopefully, that's not happening right now.
There's some of the best out there.
Omar, with your permission, we have to cut this clip and we have to put this up online because I think kids need to see the humbleness of the one and only Omar Zeenni in front of everyone in
the illusion is that I was a professional goalkeeper, so I don't want to break that illusion. But if we have to, for the sake of some laughs, Mike, we'll do it. For some good PR here, it's fine.
Oh my gosh! Oh gosh, guys. Well, this has been fantastic. Honestly, we're going to start wrapping up right now. Kailen, first off, one of the great things about you is that you give back so much to the game. I mean, whether it's doing clinics, whether it's working at the Keeper Institute. I think a lot of the times, people see somebody at your level and they go, oh my gosh, I can't reach out to this person. They're not going to get back to me or whatever. But you're so good at connecting with, especially with the youth out there. If anybody out there, maybe they're a young keeper and they're having difficulty, playing possession, where's the best place for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, definitely. You can go on the Keeper Institute. My email is up there. I don't even remember. I think it's Kailen Sheridan at the Keeper Institute. You can reach out to me there or even reach out to the Keeper Institute. I'm easily accessible through them. And honestly, I've learned from them. So they're probably better to learn from than me. Still learning from them day to day. Just came back from a session and learned some more today. So honestly, that's the best tool. And you can find me through them if you want to reach out to me individually and get any kind of advice on that. I'm still learning. The game is constantly changing. We're all still trying to figure it all out and be the best that we can be with the evolution of soccer.
Yeah. I mean, and shout out to Jill, Maria, Tori, everybody at the Keeper Institute. And I think, just the fact that you're willing to be so humble and hop in sessions with youth players and not feel like that's beneath you or anything like that,
I think not humble. I'm taking advantage of their session. Yeah. I'm like, let's go. We're picking it
off. And remember, guys, you can reach out to Omar Zeenni at he got chipped at 10 years old 8 times.
Oh, damn.
It's not on social media anymore, I don't think, but I got chipped against Santa Barbara. They played a ball over the top. I came out, I chested it, and I kicked it as far as I could, went to the midline. The guy literally brought it down off the most perfect touch, set himself up. He chipped it over my head, and I was running backwards, and I tried to catch it like this, and it went in. We lost 2-0 in front of 4,000 or 5,000 fans. My family drove out there to Santa Barbara from SoCal. It was just a whole thing. So we've all had those mistakes.
Oh you should have been on with our therapist the other week.
You should have been on with Dan Abrams.
I know.
Dan Abrams.
A lot to discuss. Maybe
you should reach out to him.
Oh my God! I had a chip in college where it was one of the. It was literally one of those where everyone went up and there was that's an easy floater, and it literally goes right over my fingertips into the goal, and everyone was like, that guy's. They don't have anybody else at that college. That's the best they can do right now. That was a rough one. Again, guys.
I'm just kidding.
Hey, by the way, Saskia, I found some clips of you online.
Tish Venturini, Hoke, hey, you used to chip me every day in practice. So I figured that out. Okay.
Again, guys, contact at Inside the 18. That's the number 18media.com. If you have a guest suggestion or a topic suggestion, or at Goalkeeper Podcast on all social medias. Obviously, reach out to Saskia Weber at Saskia_Weber, including on Twitter now. That is all the time. That is all the time on Inside the 18, and we are out. Later, guys.